There's 3 reasons why you're the bottleneck at your firm. I'm going to look at what those are, why they happen, and what you can do to bust through them. So being a bottleneck at your firm is one of the biggest pain points that I see amongst firm owners that are looking to grow their business but scared to grow it because they feel that the work's just going to fall back on their shoulders. And that was really the point of my last video, that you can grow a business that gives you more freedom, but you got to have the right things in place first. And by the way, it's absolutely freezing out here in the moment. February 1st, and everything's super frozen, so welcome to the Arctic here in Canada. But we're talking about bottlenecks today. I've certainly gone through my share of bottlenecking in the past, and even through trying to grow future firm as well, I've had my share of bottleneck issues. And I've been fortunate enough to come across hundreds of firms in our coaching. And I've been able to identify the 3 big reasons why bottlenecks happen. Ultimately, it comes down to just it being a capacity issue. We have a lot of clients that we have to service. We have a lot of activities that we need to perform in the business, be it marketing, be it sales, managing clients, managing the team, hiring people. The bottleneck issue typically happens because the firm owner is doing everything at the business. And that ultimately comes down to capacity. So the bottleneck issue happens because we have a capacity issue. We've bit off more than we can chew. The firm owner is doing more than they need to be doing. They're involved in sales, they're involved in marketing, they're involved in hiring the team, they're involved in managing the team, they're involved in implementing processes, technology, sales, marketing, strategy. They're really spread thin, and that situation aggravates itself as we grow, as we add more clients. So what I want to do today is I want to talk about the 3 core reasons why bottlenecking happens. The first reason really comes down to taking on too many clients for the available team that we have. And that typically, I see that happen because there's unlimited demand for what we do. There's always another client out there that needs our help. When I see bottlenecking happening, when I see the firm owner working way more than they should be working, one of the first things I look at is their pricing. I want to make sure that the firm is not pricing too low and accepting too many clients that puts us into a capacity problem. Because when we encounter a capacity problem and we don't have the available team to deliver the work, that work is going to flow up to the business owner. That work is going to flow up to the firm owner. So I want to make sure, are we pricing the work appropriately? The general rule of thumb, and there's exceptions to this rule, but the general rule of thumb is, are we charging at least $500 a month for ongoing accounting or bookkeeping services? And are we charging at least $500 for an individual tax return? That's like my general rule of thumb. If we're not averaging at least that, generally there is a pricing problem. That's going to drag profits down, but it's also going to put us into a capacity issue because we're just going to be accepting too many clients. And our team doesn't have the available capacity to deal with those clients, which means that work has to flow up to the firm owner, ultimately at the end of the day. So pricing is almost always my starting point. When I see a pricing issue, I want to reprice the existing client base first. When we reprice the existing client base, there's going to be a bunch of clients that are not going to come along for the ride. The majority of the clients, if you do it properly, they're going to continue with you. They're going to be at a higher price point, higher margin, and the clients that don't come along for the ride are generally the lower quality clients, the C and D level clients, who are going to be able to eliminate and open up a whole lot more capacity. With that additional capacity, we can focus on solving some of the other bottlenecking issues that occur. So it's easy to say that increase your prices, reprice your client base. You see that all over social media. Everyone's saying you got to 2x, 3x, 4x your prices. I'm guilty of saying that as well. It's easier said than done, obviously. There are some quick win tactics that you could implement. I'm a very big proponent of 3-tiered pricing. I've talked a lot about 3-tiered pricing. A lot of the times those that are encountering pricing issues So they're only offering one price point to a client out of fear that if they offer a higher price point, the client will go elsewhere. So with three-tiered pricing, we put ourselves in a position to fetch a higher price. So you can have a more conservative bronze price, that's fine. But you should have more premium silver and an even more premium gold price. What's going to become very important when it comes to improving our pricing is making sure that we have a better offer in place. Making sure that our packages are selling a result, are selling a transformation. If you want to be the firm that's there to help a client increase profitability, make sure your packages reflect that at every level. If you want to be a firm that's about helping your clients save stress and save time, make sure your packages are selling that. So your packages are not just there to sell a list of tasks that you perform, it's there to sell a transformation. So make sure that if you want to increase your probability of clients accepting a higher price point, your packages are your starting point. Your packages are your offer, and the strength of your offer determines whether your clients will accept that price and what price they're willing to pay. Okay, so three-tiered pricing. Get your prices a bit more upstream, reprice your client base. That's a good starting point if we're dealing with bottlenecking, because we're going to be able to alleviate some of the capacity issues that you're facing. We're going to be able to open up some time for yourself and for those others, some of your other team members at the firm. We're going to be able to bring margins up at the same time. The reason I like that, and the reason I like starting with pricing, is because it brings us to bottlenecking issue number 2. The second reason why bottlenecking happens is because we don't have the right team composition. We are the firms that have a lot of bottlenecking problems, they don't have senior enough team members on their firm to be able to buffer them between the firm owner and some of the more complex issues that clients are coming to us with. So I like to, when I ran my firm, two of my first hires were CPAs, just to give you some context. That put me into a cash flow issue. That added stress to my life, honestly. It wasn't easy to find these people. It wasn't easy to keep these people. But in hindsight, it was the right decision because it allowed me to pull myself out of the day-to-day and focus on the things that I was really good at the business, or focus on the things that I was better at the business. 10 plus years ago, there was probably not a ton of things that I was great at the time. I was still learning the ropes. But the idea was get myself out of the day-to-day. If a client needed help with more complex work, if a client had more sensitive issues that they needed to discuss, I wanted them to go to a more senior person on the team. So I wanted to be buffered between the team and the client. And that could really only happen once you have people on the team that are senior enough to handle that work. So what I always say is, if you are dealing with bottleneck, if you do have people on the team that are, a little too junior to handle some of the more complex work, and that stuff is always flowing up to you and you don't enjoy that stuff, then hire senior. And when it comes down to hiring senior, I'd say hire as senior as you can possibly afford, even if you have to stretch a little bit, even if that makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable. At the end of the day, I want you to be able to afford this person, but generally speaking, if you're looking to grow, if you're looking to get to the next level, we need senior enough people on the team to take that workload from you and to go as senior as you can possibly afford without putting you into a cash flow issue. Okay, so reason number 1 why bottlenecking happens is because we've bit off more than we can chew. We have too many clients, we don't have the capacity available. That flows up to you as the firm owner, and you have to handle that workload. If we could fix our pricing, and if we can get more clients paying a higher price point, we bring our margins up, we put ourselves in a position to be able to hire a more senior team member, and we also put ourselves in a position to free up some capacity at the same time. So once we fixed our pricing, we can look at fixing team composition, which is reason number 2 why bottlenecking happens at the business. We don't have the appropriate senior level resources to pull us out of the weeds and to buffer us between some of the things happening between the clients and ourselves. Reason number 3 why bottlenecking happens. Okay, so we can have great pricing in place, a great client mix, profitable team. We could have senior team members on the team. So we could have a great team in place, but we can still run into bottlenecking issues, which brings us to reason 3. And reason number 3 is because we don't have a team that's accountable. I've seen this with my coaching. 7-figure firms, great firms, providing great service. They're growing, but the main issue at play there, and they have senior resource on the team, but the main issue at play there is they have a team that's not accountable. They have team members that aren't owning their role. They have delegation issues. This happens for a couple reasons, but generally it stems from the business owner not adequately setting the expectations. And the expectations actually start at a 10,000 foot level. So let me explain. Recently I've gone through coaching with members of Future Firm Accelerate, and one of the top issues was a team that wasn't accountable. And what they were asking me for was, Ryan, I need KPIs. Ryan, I need a scorecard. I need 1 or 2 KPIs per team member to make sure that they're doing what they should be doing, and I could hold them to account. We were going through a similar exercise inside a Future Firm to hold our team more accountable at the same time. And we brought on board a very experienced COO, 15, 20 years experience managing several multi-7-figure companies. And we were discussing, and she's saying, Ryan, the KPI is really the last thing that we want to be looking at. We actually need to start from the top. And the top starts with, where are we taking this company? What is the vision of this company? Does the team understand the vision of this company? Is the team on the same page? Really, that's what we started with to help. And really, that's the starting point to better accountability at your team, is starting with the vision. Starting with, are you clear on what you want? Are you clear on where you want to take this business? What you want this business to be about? If you're not clear on that, then how could we expect to have everybody on the same page? That's what accountability is about at the end of the day, is having everyone on the same page, having everyone row in the same direction, giving them the adequate context to succeed in their role and to own their role. And if we haven't started from the starting point, which is, where do you want to take the business? What is the business about? What is the vision of the business? Then there's no point in diving into those detailed level KPIs. So that's where it really needs to start. You want a more accountable team. You want a team that's going to own their role, so that this stuff doesn't have to bottleneck up to you, so that you don't have to constantly repeat yourself. Start with the end. Start with where you want to take the company. What is the company about? Communicate that regularly to their team. Communicate the big priorities to your team. That's going to allow everyone to make better decisions at the company. So start there. Once you know where you want to take the business, then we're in a position to plot out what we want the team to actually look like. What does that company structure look like? So what does your team look like now? Who are the roles in the organization? What do you want that organization to look like in, let's say, a year from now? What is that team composition? What is the org chart? What is the accountability chart? What are the roles? What are the reporting lines? Once we've mapped that out, then we can start mapping out what are the definition of those roles? What are the expectations of those roles? Then we can start plotting out a role description. And from there, once we have a role description, then we're in a position to map out what are the KPIs, what is each person responsible for in the business, and that's going to allow them to fully own their role. Okay, so when it comes down to accountability for the team, we need to back up. We start with the end in mind. What's the vision of the company? What is the company all about? Where do we want to take the company? What are the big priorities at the moment to get us to where we want to go? And is the team aware of this? With that context, they'll be in a better position to make better decisions. with that clarity, you'll also be in a position to map out what you want your team to look like in the future. What is that org chart? What does that look like? Mapping out the roles, mapping out who reports to who, and then documenting those role descriptions, documenting what success looks like in those roles and what expectations we have for individuals in those roles. And then that's when we can set out KPIs for each individual role. This is the final point of that exercise. So there you have it. 3 reasons why bottlenecking happens here in your accounting firm and what you can do to overcome those issues. This is me reporting from frosty Canada. Super cold at the moment. Looking forward to all this snow and ice to melt. And let me know in the comments what you found helpful today, what you're still not sure about, where you feel you might need help. I'll be happy to reply to any comments, so don't hesitate, and I'll catch you in the next one.